Okay, so it is 8 p.m. right now. So let's get started for the training for today. Okay, and welcome for the second day of training. And for today, we will be based on the technical training. So we will be going over through the setup, including the basic setup and the more advanced setup and some like common issue. While you guys like trying to figure out the systems or like making the installation, and we will went over the whole process. And for today's training, it will be longer than yesterday. We are expecting anywhere from like 2 hours to 3 hours, and it will be depends on how like the question that you guys may have. And by the way, my name is Emily Law, and
I'm today's presenter too, and my name is Kenny.
Okay, cool. And let's get started. Yeah. Okay, as let's have a brief go over the introductions on the IP audio solutions. As you guys, if you attended for the yesterday's training, and we all know that the IP audio solution, it is a combination of hardware and software solution. On the hardware products, based on ZYCOO products, we have the 6 speakers, we have the intercoms, and we have the paging gateways, and also we have the 6 phones. And in terms of the software, we have several softwares, include the systems, the software applications, and the mobile apps. And we went over that for yesterday's content. And then let's move on to the next topic to get started on the technical training. So server's recommendation, here we go. All right, so I have prepared a table for you guys for the server's recommendations on the system's capacities. So let's look at the tables. For example, if your project is requiring you for 100 endpoints, so you will be more than likely looking into a service that has the capacity of 2 cores and the 4 GB RAM, and then we have the MIC for like 100 Mbps. And the storage has to be like somewhere around like 120 GB. So that is the minimum requirements for the server. And then if you are going to have like a giant, a huge project, and it has like a lot of devices, the endpoints, such as like you got like a 1,000 endpoints. So we are more than likely looking into a higher, like a service with higher capacity, such as it can contain like 6 cores, 8 GB RAM, etc. And that is a service recommendation tables for your reference. It is like very helpful when you are if you're deploying the systems on the cloud. It will be very helpful to look into these capacities and choosing the servers on AWS, or if we're using Microsoft, there would be like Microsoft cloud server. And for installation.
Yeah, and in this part, I will introduce you about our IP audio center installation steps. As mentioned yesterday, our IP audio center is the engine and the core of our IP audio solution. And users can use this kind of installation way to install, such as you can use our iOS file to install it on on-premise server, a cloud server, or even a virtual machine. Or you can use our ISL100 IP audio server, which got a built-in system. Yeah. Okay, and our IP audio server ISL100, it is a hardware server installed the ZYCOO IP audio center system, provide users the auto box feature to ready to use. And our IIS L100 got up to 100 extensions. And by the way, our default IP address of the WAN address is 192.168.1.100, and our default LAN address is 192.168.10.100. Yeah.
Yes, and my recommendation of if you are using the IIS L100, so after you getting the device power up, and my recommendation would be using a label cable to directly connect the IIS L100 with your laptops. And depends on the parts that you use, whether or not like it is a RAM part or a LAN part, and you get into the systems, and then we will be changing the system's IP address to the designated IP address. That will be the easiest way to set up, like when you first setting up the IIS L100. And then the another method would be using. And another method would be using the ISO files. So you can download the through our website. You can download the ISO files and install it on your hardware servers or on a virtual machine. So if you already have a hardware server at your office, you can download the ISO files and then
create a bootable USB drive and plug the USB drive on your server. And you can see the left picture. You can select the ISO file. It will automatically operate the installation, and you can just read it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the process of installation using the ISO files is relatively straightforward. All you need to do is to put the ISO image, the ISO files into the USB drive, and then plug in the USB drive to the to your hardware server, and then it will pump out, and then it will start the process automatically, and then it takes somewhere around like 10 to 20 minutes. It depends on the server's capacity, and then it will show up the when the installation process is done. It will show up the IP address, the system IP address, like the picture on the right. We have the IP address. So the 11.228, that is the IP address of the systems. And after you install it, you need to find a computer and then open up Google Chrome or any browsers, and then inputting the IP address to get access into the systems. And one thing you guys need to be aware of it is if you are installing on a virtual machine, make sure that the network connection or the network setting that is under the bridge
mode.
Yeah, the bridge mode. And then the second installation method would be using Docker. So this method applies to if you are installing the systems on a cloud server. So you can, so first thing first, you need to install Docker in your instance, in your cloud instance, and then adding the ZYCOO private Docker with Poultry, and then running the comments below, and then it will directly downloading you the whole project into your cloud server, into the instance. So that is the method for the cloud server. But of course, if you're using a cloud server, you can also use the ISO file. It just be like easier to use Docker if you're on the cloud. And then for downloading the dispatch console, so this software application, it is simple. all you need to do is to go to our website under downloads, go find this patch console from the left navigation bar and click on it. And on the first section, you will see like a list of firmware. So it'll be including different the operation systems type, such as like Mac OS. So for Mac OS, we have two applications, one for the regular Mac, and we have the one specially for the M1 chip. Or if you're using Windows, we have the 64 bits or the 32 bits version for you guys to download. So choose the version that fits with your computer, and then download and install it. So this downloading this patch console is very straightforward. And then in terms of these patch apps, you can find it on the for Android. You can find it in the Google Play Store, and if you are using iPhones, then you can find it in the App Store. By searching the IP audio these patch apps, you should be able to find it. Okay, and then the next part would be finding the device IP address. So the first recommendation on finding the device IP address would be using our ZCAE tool, right?
Yeah, our ZCAE tool is recently released. Yeah.
And it is like very convenient to use. As long as your computer, the computer that you install the ZCAE tool and the devices are under the same network, we will be able to search within the same network based on the device MAC address, and they will be able to search out the device IP address. Oops, there we go. And then after we search out all the devices that is under the same network, we have the option to log in. So you need to using the endpoint login credential to log into the device, and then you can use to like exporting the device configuration files, or if you are going to do like a upgrade, you can do a batch upgrade. And then also you can building all the device information from the main interface, such as the IP address, like what models they are, and what software version they are, etc. And hardware version, absolutely. Sorry, we're back. We have a small problem with the network here, so let's get continue. All right, okay, you guys can see the presentation slide, right? Okay, here it goes, and let's continue. And then if you would like to getting the device IP address on the device itself, so we have different so each model according to the specifications on finding the IP address, such as we have the on the left we have the SW15, the common speaker. So on the back of the SW15 there is a little reset button, and you need to press and hold this reset button for 3 seconds and then release. The speaker will be announcing the IP address. Same as the SC15, and it also has a reset buttons in the back of the speaker. Press and then hold for 3 seconds and release. It will announce the IP address. Pretty much the same as the SQ10 and the horn speaker, the SH30. So the SQ10 is actually the reset button that is in the front panel. So right under the cameras, or if you're using the basic version, there's no camera, but there will be like right a little bit above the speaker, there is a little hole, and that hole is actually a reset button. So hold and press and hold for 3 seconds and release. It will announce the IP address. And then the reset buttons on the hall speaker is actually on the speaker cable. So one of the cable that has a reset button. So all you need to do is just like press and hold. Pretty much the same as the intercoms, but the intercoms is actually using the front buttons on the intercoms, and instead of 3 seconds, we need to press and hold for 5 seconds and release. And in terms of the EIV05, so that model has 2 buttons. So you need to choose the middle ones. So not the first one. You need to choose the middle ones buttons, press and hold for 5 seconds. And then we have the gateways. So the gateways is slightly different. So if you would like to checking the IP address from the X10 itself, first thing you need to do is to connect a passive speaker with the X10. Otherwise, it won't be able to play any sound out, right? So connect the passive speaker to the X10 first, and then on the back of the X10, we have 2 buttons. So that is the volume plus and the volume minus. So press these 2 buttons at the same time, hold for 3 seconds, and then release. And the X10 will be announcing the IP address. So that is pretty much the methods that you are able to get the device IP address. Okay, and then let's move on to the configuration part. So we will be going over the basic setup at first. After we get over the basic setup, we should be able to do some like basic operation, such as we are able to make pagings, and we're able to play background music, etc. So those are the basic operations. And then after we're done with the basic setup, we will take a 5 minutes break, and then we will move on to the advanced setup. So let me share my screens here. So let's end with the PowerPoint. Okay, and hopefully you guys can see my screen here. Share screens, okay. Let me log out here. Here it goes. So after you install the systems, the IP audio center systems, and it will give you the IP address, right? So we need to pull up a browser and inputting the IP address. So for my IP address here is 17.81, and then the default username and password for logging into the IP audio centers are both admins. Okay, after we log in, since it is not a like a completely new blank systems, I already have some devices registered here, and I have created some paging zones, but we'll be going over through the whole process for very quick. So let's take a look on the main interface. So after you log in, you will be able to see this the main interface, which we have the system versions, the uptimes, and the storage and the license infos, etc. So since if you are first time installing the systems, the statex will be showing in Activate here, and you need to put up a you need to upload a license, like the endpoint license, to activate the systems. But for all of our systems, it comes with a 45 days free trial period, so you don't need to be rushed in purchasing the license. You can have a 45 days free to try out the system first, and it comes with, I believe it comes with like 30 free endpoints. Then we have the CPUs and the memory stage. In terms of the storage here, so it is showing the system's storage. One thing we need to be aware of is when the storage is full, it will be showing that the storage is full here. And then what the system will do, it will stop saving any more data from the systems. So that is one thing we need to be aware of. So if your storage is like approaching to full or is almost full, you need to like get in more storage, or you need to deleting some old files. Then the next page, we have the register status. So it will be showing you the device information, such as the IP address and what are the extension number, etc. So the first thing first, we will be creating some SIP accounts for the devices. So let's do a so let's create a new SIP account here. Let's do a simple password. A simple password is not recommended, but since we are on a demonstration, so I will be choosing a easier password for me. And then we have another parameter such as enable video. So if you are using a video, so if this SIP number is going to dispatch to a video device, such as a video phones or a video intercoms, you need to get the enable video option turned on. And then we have the audio codecs. So we have the 722 and both of the A-law and U-laws, all them it defaultly enables. And make sure that we have at least one same audio codec that is matched with the endpoints. So if you only like, for example, if you only having the 722 turned on this for this SIP account number, and then your device is only supporting the A-law, the 711. So in that case, the speaker won't have any sound to play out because the audio codec is not matched. And same as the transport protocols. So defaultly we use the UDP, but in some areas, such as like in the Middle East, Dubai, we need to use the TCP or TLS. We need to like manually changing the default transport protocol here. And then click on submit, apply. Remember that click on the apply buttons to activate the setting that we just done. And then the next step would be creating a group. So let's add a new group, and I have the default group number such as like 602, and then let me create a name that's like Emily's group. Cool. And then if you don't have any dispatch user here, you don't need, it is not requiring you to select a dispatch user when you first using the system. So you can save it for later. So we can we can do it when we create the dispatch user. For the dispatch user to selecting the zones, or we have the zone to selecting the dispatch user if both direction works. And then we got the paging mode, so we support both simplex and duplex. So the simplex means we have the one-way audio. That would be for like a one-way audio paging, and duplex would be intercom, or any like the talkback speaker that is able to support the two-way communication call. So I was if the groups contains any duplex device, you have to choose the duplex paging mode. And then the next step would be selecting the devices and then dispatch it to the group or to the zones. So I'm going to select all devices and then submit. Here you go. And apply. Here you go. And then the next step would be creating the dispatch user. So let's add another dispatch user here. So let's do Emily. And here you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here you go. And then putting in the address or the phone number. So these two options is not required, but we have some requiring parameters here, such as permission. So you, as a demonstration, you can give different permissions to the dispatch user, such as pagings or the alarmed intercom. So if I don't want Emily to able to like make any of the external call, so I'm going to unclick the external call for her. So in this case, she won't be able to make the external call. And then we have the access level. So we have the highest one to the lowest 12. So this access level is based on the IPPF, the IP telephony features. For example, if Emily's access level is the highest, she has the access level 1, and Kenny as another dispatch user, and he has the access level of 2.
Yeah.
And then so he has a lower access level, right? So me as a manager or as a supervisor, that I'm able to do the IP telephony features on his master phone, such as I can monitoring his call, and I can split his call, or I can block it. So those IP telephony features can be built based on the access level. Then we have the group management. So right here, we can selecting the groups that Emily can manage. So she can manage both groups. Here we go. So if you are having like different locations, and you can selecting the corresponding group for the dispatch user. And then IP phones. So here is the IP phone here means the master phone. And one thing we need to be aware of is, since I don't have any IP phone number registered right now, but if you have any IP phone registered, then we are able to choose in here. And one thing we need to be aware of is one master phone number can only apply to one dispatch user, but one dispatch user is able to select more than one master phone number. Am I making it clear? So as so Emily can have multiple master phones, but one master phone can only assign to one dispatch user. Then we have the strategy for the ringing. So you can like ring the all. So if you have like 5 or 6 master phone here, so it's going to like ring all the phones, or it can go linear. So it's going to ring one by one, and then we can set up the rings direction here. Then let's click on submit. Applied. Okay. And the next step, so since we just created one, give me 1 second here. let me pin myself. And since we just created a new SIP account number, so the next step would be registering the device into the systems. So right here, let me sign out here very quick. So right here, I got a new EIWO5 that is the device behind me right here. And the login credential, the default login credential would be the same as both admin. Then you can choosing the language here, but right now we only support 2 Chinese and 1 English. Here we go, and after you log in, we can see that the SIP status, so that means the SIP account status, none of the account is configured. So all three accounts is not configured yet. So for now, we can configure 1 SIP account for this device. So let me copy the server address. So right here, the first input line would be the SIP server. So that is going to be the IP audio center's IP address. And then the default port would be 5060. So if you guys are putting the servers on the cloud, it would be strongly recommended that you change the default port to another like the SIP port to another numbers in order to avoid some attacks. Then we have the user ID. So I just created 10112, I believe. Let me check it. Let me make sure that I'm inputting the correct one. Okay, so the last one would be 1012. So we have 1012 here, and you don't need to fill out the authenticated users. So if you leave it for empty, you leave it blank, it will be automatically assuming that you use the same as the above. So we'll be assuming that you use the user ID here. Then we have the domains password. Password is 123.123.456. Oh, and we have the address explorations. Then choosing the same the transport protocols. So we chose the UDP on the IP audio centers, and then we need to choose the UTP here. Same transport protocols, and then auto answers, sure. Then NAT is disabled. And if you would like to use the dispatch console, make sure that you have this option turned on. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the device on the dispatch console. So make sure you are turning this option on. That is a very important point. And also activate. So turn these 2 options on. Click on submit, and then we can go back to the front page and see the status. So on the primary SIP accounts, it has registered. Here we go, and the status is good. Then let's go back to the center. Then let me check on the device status. Here we go. So on the 1012, I'm able to see the type of device it's using is SIP, and then we have the device IP address, and the status is okay. Then the next thing would be, so we remember that we created the dispatch, the paging group, right? But we did not adding the new device into the group. So for now, we need to modify the group and adding the new device into the group. So dispatch it to the group, submit, applied. Here we go. Let me change the name very quick. Let me change to, oh no, like Emily's EIWO5. Okay, and then the next step will be logging into the dispatch console. So let's log into the dispatch console on 1781. And I created a dispatch call use 23456. Login. Here we go. So after I logging in this dispatch console, we'll be able to see like right in the middle panels, like the main panels, I'm able to see all the devices and their status and their type, such as the 101, it is a IP phone. So it has a little phone icon here, and the SQ10 or the intercoms, and it's showing into the intercoms icons, and we have the speaker icons, etc. And then let's see what else. So let's go over these panels very quick on what functionality it has, and then we will test some like basic features, and then we will have a very quick break. Okay, so let me put it over here. A moment. Yes, and I will share the presentation slide. So since I don't have much content on the presentation slides for this training, but I will be uploading the video to YouTube, and you guys can review afterward. So on here it goes. So on the top navigation bar, we have the device type. We also call the labels. So all these types, they are defaultly created. So after you download or you install the systems, it will be automatically created different type of devices icons for you. And if you are adding any new labels within the systems, it will be overrides the default setting. So for example, let me have a very quick example here. So right here, we are on the IP audio center, right? So right under settings, we have labels. Let's add a labels called, I don't know, called like front door. And choosing the icon. Okay, here you go, we got it all. And click on submit, apply. And when we back to the console, refresh the console. Here you go. Can you guys see that the original icons or the device type it disappeared because we have a modification that is overrides the previous setting, the default setting. But so in many cases that a lot of end users, they would like to have like a they probably only have two of the device type, right? They only use speaker and intercoms. They don't use another type of device. So they would like to keep it simple and easy to read. So in that case, they can override the top setting here. But if you are deleting the labels, so submit, applied. If you deleted the labels and refresh the page, it comes back. It comes back to the default setting. And then move down, we have this like a smaller section. So those are the paging group or paging zones. So we have all, and Emily can manage 2 paging zones, right? So she can have the live room paging zones, or she can manage the Emily's paging groups zones. And if we double click the zones here, we'll be able to selecting all the devices, or double click again to unselect all the devices. And one thing that we need to be aware of on this paging zone is only the devices within the same paging zones can call each other. So we are not supporting the device causing the paging zones to call each other. And then move to the right here, we have the device status, such as you can click on idle or busy. So none of the device is busy and none of the device is in error or offline. So they are all good, in a good shape. And then let's take a look on the bottom notification bar first. So right on the bottom, we have the left side. We got the telephony, IP telephony features, such as we have the call, intercom, bucket, split, monitor, whisper. So those are the IP telephony feature, and that this whole section is typed with the access level, the dispatch user's access level. So if Kenny is the operator, and he cannot monitor my call and he cannot whisper my call. But as I am having the higher access level, so I can monitor his call. And then the move to the right, we have the place, such as selecting a speaker. Click on place and you can choose the playlist here. We'll be creating the playlist version. So selecting the playlist for the music, and also we have page. So selecting the devices. Now let's select a speaker for paging, right? And then I got the alarms, and then the meetings, and also volume. Volume would be like adjusting the volumes for the device. Then we have the stop, so I can click on the stop to stop the music. And right on the video intercom panel, so let's expand it. So there's like a little double arrow on the panel. If we click on the panels, it will be able to see a 4x4 16 windows here. So here's this 3x3, but we can expand it to the 4x4. Or you can choose like 1 or 4 or 9 or 16. Here we go. So it can support at most 16 video video streaming to show at the same time simultaneously. And that is on the standard versions on our dispatch console. And let's see on the, so we went over all these buttons and icons. So let's move on to the music. So on the music section, we have the, if you would like to importing the music files, let's have an example here. So first thing we need to get into the music collection, not the music player. So the music player is the place we create the playlist. So first thing first, let's click on downloads. So I have downloaded a MP3 file. So it uploaded one MP3 files here. And besides uploading, you can do like a TTS, like the text to speech. So let's do like, hello. Yeah. Convert. Now like. Submit. So I just created a TTS file called the Hello Emily. And besides TTS, we have also the record message. So you can click on start and start to speaking and then recording the message on your own. So these are the 3 methods that we support for the music. And similar to the alarms. So for the alarms, we already have 5 default alarm sounds comes within the systems. But if you would like to add in your own alarms audio files, so it will be the same method as applying to the music. Just click and drop the music files, or doing the TTS, or doing the recording. And then let's move back to the music playlist. So let's do let's do Emily's playlist 1. So we can choose the music files for this playlist. So I'm going to selecting both music, the only 2 music that we have. for right now. So let's save. And there's a correction and go back to the console. So let's choose a speaker for play. Wait. Can you guys hear that? It's actually playing the song here.
It's me.
From our
I was
student.
wondering if after all these years you'd like to me to go over
Okay,
everything.
Stop. Here we go. Okay, and one question that just from the check bar is TTS I can use as audio in Spanish. So for TTS, if you would like to use it in Spanish, we actually have the Google's engines, the Google's TTS engines API available, but the Google's TTS engine is not free. You need to create the account and pay for the TTS. I believe Google is billing on like they counting for characters or they counting for words. And I need to check it out on it, but we do support the Google TTS engine. And then see what else. Okay, so we're done with music, and then let's do meeting. So meeting would be relatively straightforward, and you need to do it from the console. So for example, so if I am inviting these two devices and click on the meeting, if I go to here we go. Here you guys see it? The meeting rooms here. So it invited the devices into these meeting rooms, and then within the device we can do like mute, or we can do like unmute it, or you can take out the device into the in the meeting rooms. Take out, here you go, and then delete will be closing the meeting room. It is pretty much the same that you have with the PBX meeting rooms, and we support, believe we support 10 meeting rooms for this application. And then we have tasks. So tasks, let's have a brief introduction on the tasks. So tasks, we have 3 different kind of tasks. So the first one would be the immediate. So let's do task 1. So the task 1 would, as the name suggests, it is a immediate task. So it will be activated right after you create the task. So next would be selecting the audio type. So you can choose music, or you can choose TTS, or record a message, or alarms. So there are 4 different audio types you can choose. So let's do music. And we have the Emily's playlist 1. And then the play modes, you can do like the default order, or we can like do the shuffle, like random order, or the times. And adjusting the volume here. And then next would be selecting the paging zones, the paging groups. So let's do, I will like choosing all the devices. Okay, not choosing all the devices. Let's do like 1 speaker. So we done with the SQ10. So let's try the SW15 for this task. And save.
Hello.
And we can see that the SW15 is playing the and then since that is the immediate task, it won't be showing on the all tasks table here, because the all tasks on this all tasks table, it will be only showing the task that is unactivated. So if the task is already activated, we can check out the tasks right here on the today's column sections. Then we can check out the SADEX and the type, or the devices that it assigned to. And the type of tasks, the names, etc. We have this information here. So that is going to be like a task history table. And we also have logs, so you can view the logs. Here you go. And next, let's create another timetable task. So let's do task 2. So a timetable task, it is a repeated task within a specific period, time period, such as if we choosing repeated, so we can do like from today to the end of the month. That's assuming that we in school, right? So we will be choosing like 8 p.m. We will be playing the announcements. Oh no, like class begin announcement for like 5 minutes. Is that enough for 5 minutes? Okay, and then since we are at schools, we don't go to school in the weekend, so we can selecting only Monday to Fridays. And also we have another periodic play modes. So these two are, it looks a little bit complicated, but I'll try my best to explain like how they work. So on the mode 1, it will ask you how often that you would like to perform this task, for how long. So for example, if I'm not in school, I'm playing background music for 12 hours during daytime, right? So I would need to put, and my audio is only last for 1 hour. So I need to choosing how often, like 60 seconds or like 2 minutes, and we'll be playing the task for 1 hour, or we will be doing for 2 hours. And then the second mode would be the break time, such as if my audio it only lasts for 1 hour, and then after the 1 hour is done, I'm going to take a 60-second break and then play it again. So that is the mode 2. And if we are in mode 1, for if your audio is last for 1 hour and you're only choosing for like the 15 minutes, right? So it's only going to play for the first 15 minutes. So that's the 2 most difference settings. Then the next would be same as the previous task. We're going to select the audio type. We can choose the TTS. So do like, hello, Emily. Convert. And we will it.
Hello, Emily.
Sounds good. Okay, and then we can choosing the times. So you can like with 0 means infinite playback. So it will be just like keeping over within the time, the time and the
unlimited.
that you set up. So if you would like to only play it for once or twice, so we're going to change the times here. And then the volumes next would be selecting the device. So let's do the ZCAE and then save. Okay, since we selecting the time for 8 a.m. in the morning, so it won't be performing right now. And then the last type of task is we call it dial number task. So task 3. So on the dial number task, it is a preset task. The next will be asking you for the task number. So this task number is basically a password. It is a password that you need to have for triggering the task. So I don't know, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Make it simple. And then next would be the same as the previous steps. We will be choosing the audio type and the such as alarm. So let's assuming that we are creating a task for a quick execution, right? So for a quick, we have the alarms and then selecting the alarm sound. So let's select emergencies, and then next would be selecting the speaker, and then save. So I got a dial number task here, and my task number is 1, 2, 3, 4. And one way that we can trigger this to activate this task is to using the IP phones, or you can preset it into the IP phones function key. And for activating the dial number task, you need to put a *11 in front of the task number, such as if I need to activate the task, if I need to activate the task 3, or I need to type in *11 and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it make sense? So this number, here let's look at the right corner here. So this number is going to activate the task 3. So if I need, what if I need to stop the task, right? Stopping the task would be *12. So this number is going to terminate to stop the task. There it goes. So that are the 3 kind of tasks that we have. The dial number task is very helpful because it is a preset task and we can set it up ahead of time. And the most common use case would be create the task first, create a list of tasks, and then put it into the IP phone's function key. When we need to activate the task, all we need to do is to click on the function keys on the IP phone, and then it will be activated. And then the next would be the alarms. So the alarms here, we have the this alarm is pretty much like a history table list. It's showing you that the alarms we have, and then the all the information such as the alarms event and status, and then the initiator, etc. And then we have the fourth report. And as a dispatch user, I need to confirm whether or not the device is working. If the device is offline, so a lot of time the device might be losing connection to the internet, and it will send out a false code, such as the error code 1 or error code 2. And I need to confirming the device is good to use, and I have the ignore tables here. And let's see. Then what else we got here? So right on the right upper corner, we have the setting. So setting here, so you can turn on to the dark mode or the daylight mode, and we have the language. So we are supporting 3 different languages right now. So if you guys are interested for translating the panels for us, that is very appreciated. And we have the advanced settings. So we have the QR codes for scanning to log in. And we have the project name. And the engine that you can choose is the TTS engine. You can choose Google, or you can choose the Franking. And then we have the version here. So, and as you guys may realize that this whole panel, this whole application, it does not have a ZYCOO logo here. So it is a completely white labels software for you guys to use. And for project name, so the project name will be basically showing into the main interface here. So let's do, I don't know, like Emily's panel. Then I have my Emily's panel here. So it is like very helpful for labeling the software locations, such as you can like labeling to like school A or school B or like room A, room B, right? Or the operator's name onto the panels, and we know like who is using this panel, right? So I believe, did I miss anything here? Recording. So on the recording, we can check out the live paging recording and all the intercoms, meetings, etc. So you can actually download or play back the recording, but only the admins, only the administrator is able to delete the recording. So as an operator, you are not, so you cannot delete the recording. So if we would like to delete the recording, we need to perform as a admins and then going to the not the record setting. So I believe that is right under where is my, here you go, the report. So in recording here, intercom recording, so I can delete a specific recording from the IP audio center, but you cannot do it within the dispatch console. So, and we support like session from days or from a specific callers or colleague. And that is pretty much the basic setup that we just done for the
dispatch console.
Yeah, so for the IP audio centers and the dispatch console. So I guess we will be and we tested the TTS and we tested the background music. So for right now, let's take a 5-minute break, and we will be back on the more advanced setting. So on the more advanced setting, we will be going over all these setup, such as how you connect a IP cameras and how you can connect with a alarm light or a sensor, right? And then we have the multicast P2P, and we already done the dial number task. So we're going to skip the task, and then we will get into the last part will be get into a more technical advanced setting to using the 1990 port. So it is 9:04 right now. So let's take a 5-minute break, and we will be back in 9:10. And during this 5-minute break, if you guys have any question, please feel free to ask. Please feel free to open the mic and ask any question that you may have. Sorry. 嗯，100要开点，为什么呢？我不懂。哦，我知道了，我刚才是用 Emily 去，我把它退出来，把它删了就可以了。
啊，你得用这个 user 登录。
对，我得用它，那个没有。待会等他们来的时候，给他们演示一波。反正就这样，待会给他们演示一波。
OK。
Okay, let's see, we got some question here. So, for the first question I got, it is from the IVR. Can I activate a alarms? Let me think about it. So, yes, it is possible, but the setup would be a bit complicated. So we can use the let's see. So we can use the let me check out here. One moment. We can use the we can use the ID numbers that within the inbound rule, but for the ID number you can, so first you need to create a dial number task, and the task would be selecting as a alarms, selecting the alarms audio files, the alarm sounds, and the devices, and then after we create the dial number task, we need to create a inbound rules, and then within the inbound rules, get the ID numbers. So the ID number matching with the dial number task number, such as like *11 and whatever, like star task number that you have. But the complicated thing would be, since the ID number is the number that we are visiting, the system visiting from outside, right? So when you are making the call within your PBX systems, you need to change your numbers to match with the ID number. So the setup would be a bit complicated here for using the IVR for activating. And let's see, we can use, where can we use zip chunks to IPP pairs? Okay, so I will be showing you the places later on for registering the PBX as a zip chunks into the systems. Can we modify the dial numbers? Like what dial numbers? I'm not sure, like I'm not clear with the questions on like what dial numbers.
You mean the dial number trigger task?
You mean like the dial number task, the number for the task, right? Yes, you're creating the task on your own. I mean the task number on your own. So you don't need to use like
1, 2, 4,
yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just making a example here for easier to use. Can you share the yesterday's and today's? Yes, and we will be showing you the presentation slides. Sure. And regarding on the ZCAE, I still cannot find the active audio. Do you have the new URL solution? So in terms of the ZCAE, so there are several conditions that have to meet. So first thing, it can only search for the ZCAE
devices.
ZCAE devices, and the ZCAE device software version has to be 1.2 or later. So it has to be the latest software version. So if you are having like a older version, you need to upgrade upgrade the software first, the firmware first. And then the second condition, it has to be under the same network, because it only able to search the slots on the IP address. So it has to be under the same network. And if you, for the new URLs in the solution, so you can download the latest versions of the FAD2, and I believe that is in version 2.0 or 1.2. And you can download it from our website. So go to the ZYCOO.com/downloads, and you are able to find from the left navigation bar, there is a FAD2 page, and you should be able to find the latest version software there. If we create peer SIP to, so next question would be from RJ. We create peer SIP to the IPv4 means one call per SIP chance, or one SIP chunk can be used to let me read the question again. So all the okay, so I believe RJ's question would be the PBX and the IP audio centers integration, right? So if we are integrating the PBX as a SIP chunk for the IP audio centers, the suggest way that if you would like to have the device that is registered on the PBX able to call in the device on the IP audio center, the recommended method would be having the device on the PBX or the centers, the IP audio center, they have the dual SIP accounts. So they are the endpoint devices is registered with two SIP accounts. That way would be easier to perform. If they need to pause the server to call each other, then they can directly call each other. Otherwise, if you have the device that is registered on the PBX only, and the device that is registered on the IP audio only, in that case, we can still use the DID, DID matching to the numbers on the IP audio.
Okay, I have one question actually. So there is any workflow diagram do you have that which will tell us for the, this is for particularly for the PA system, that step by step, that first you create an account, then you create a, you can say add the device, and like a workflow, you know, as a workflow layout, you know.
Yeah.
Do you have something like that available?
Yes, we do. Let me share the let me share my screen back and showing you guys the desktop. Sure. Go and let me find here. Okay. So we are at the ZCAE.com right now, and then click on downloads, go to IP Audio Center, and then we have a installation guide. Here we go, the first one. So we have the IP Audio Center installation guide. Click on the downloads. And we have the step-by-step for you, step-by-step procedure. Yeah, the step-by-step procedure for you to how, so this document is showing you like how to installing the systems, and then we have another document, believe it is the Swan system user guide here. So in the user guide, we have a step-by-step for creating, like first step, you need to create the dispatch user, and then we need to create the patient group. This one would be a bigger files, it takes a little bit longer. So at the next step, you need to dispatching the device into the group. So we do have that documents available on our website.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, and in terms of the SAD2, it'll be the same download page. Right here, we have the SAD2, and then you will be able to find the version. Okay, so version actually is 1.0 here. And you'll be able to find the version here, the software. And let me answer the next couple of questions, and we'll be back and continue the training. Let's see, from how many? So I got one for the PBX question. I'm not sure, like, so your question is how many extensions are the ZYCOO PBX machine decided? You mean, are you asking the extension capacity on the PBX or on the IP audio? Is the or is in addition of the simple PBX IP phone, IP centers, IP phone. Okay, let me read RJ's question real quick. So we have a IP phone. So. Okay, so in terms of the zip trunk problem, I believe you can apply the same zip trunks into different server. At least for the zip trunk that we are purchasing in China here, we are able to like apply into different server. Yes, so ZYCOO's PBX can be integrated with the IP audio center. Yes, because the PBX is going to be integrated into the center as a zip trunk. I mean, if we create zip trunks, how many? And if we create zip trunks, how many concurrent cores can have? How many concurrent cores that we can have? You mean the concurrent cores that we so I don't think the concurrent core that is will be due to the zip trunks. The concurrent core is more depending on the server's capacity, right?
Hello, Emily. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. With regards to my question, because we have tried IPPBX to IPPBX zip trunk. So technically speaking, if we create one zip trunk between the IPPBX, so all of the IP phones, as much as the concurrent calls, can be used on the zip trunk. So meaning we can only use one zip trunk to connect between IPPBX. With regards to IP audio connected to the IPPBX using the same zip trunk or pure zip, how many concurrent calls can handle for that single, or let's say one zip trunk created? Thank you.
Okay, so I need to think of this question very carefully. So we are applying the SIP trunks to the PBX, and we are applying the PBX as a SIP trunks to the IP audio, right? In that case,
Yes, because because we have clients, for example, they have the IP audio center, then they have also the IP PBX. Then since we inform them that we can integrate between the two different solutions, so for example, if we have 5 IP phones connected to our IP audio center, then we create a SIP trunk between IP PBX and IP audio center. So um if we create one SIP trunk, is it enough for those 5 IP phones to communicate using the single SIP trunk that we have created?
Okay, so that question would be, let's see. If so my question would be, let's see, so you have 5 IP phones on the IP audio center, right?
Yes. So technically, they have different employees. For example, then they those 5 IP phones connected to our IP audio center wants to connect outside or internally. For example, they have IP phones connected to the IPPBX. Then those five IP phones wants to connect to the IPPBX, or even they wanted to use the FXO from the IPPBX. So is it? I mean, in terms of creating of the SIP trunk, is it um 1:1 in terms of the concurrent, or one SIP trunk from the IP audio center going to the IPPBX is enough to handle those 5 IP phones, for example, that wants to connect to the IPPBX?
Okay, so that question, I'm not, so okay, give me one moment to think about this question. Because like I'm thinking
Okay.
like if you are having 5 IP phones on the IP audio centers, in this case, we can register the same SIP trunk that you use for the IP PBX to the IP audio center, right?
Yeah, actually,
With
with regards to your um option a while ago, so what I'm seeing is that we can do 2 options. The easiest way is that since our entry level phone is they are capable of 2 SIP accounts, so we can use the first SIP account connected to the IPPBX, then another one connected to the IP audio center. But if the client wants to dedicated, I mean, on the IP phone, there will be IP phones only connected to the IP audio centers. Then another set of IP phones will be only connected to the IPPBX. So that's a question from the client if we can accommodate all the IP phones connected to the IP audio centers using a one SIP trunk between the center to IPPBX. Or is it we need to create multiple SIP trunk just to accommodate on how many IP phones should use from the center going to the IPPBX?
okay, yes, thank you, Ajay, and I think I got your questions, and I need to think of the solution right now. So let's see. So we are using the PBX.
Actually, with that, there's no problem. So you can revert to me with regards to my question. So
Yeah,
we can
sure.
proceed. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Because
Okay,
I
okay.
need to
Thank
look into the specifications on the SIP trunks information there. And by the way, for your yesterday's questions on the hot standby, right? The cloud servers hot standby, and I confirmed that with the our technicians. So for the hot standby feature, we are not supporting for the cloud servers, but they are suggesting that most of the cloud server provider, such as like AWS or Microsoft, they do have a service called the failover. So that is a additional service that you can purchase and having two instances to run simultaneously. And I believe that is basically booked as a like a regular, a normal failovers. And you can choose a cloud server provider that they offer this service for having a second backup service to back up the systems. But in terms of on our software and or on our systems, we do not support the these features within the cloud.
Okay, so with regards to that, only on-prem servers, even if it's physical or virtual, as long as the equipment coming from the client, we can support. However, if it's a cloud server platform, so yeah, I get the point because cloud servers offers 99.9999%, right, for the high availability.
Yes,
So yeah,
because like cloud server, they are pretty safe to use and they are pretty secure, and you don't need to like worry about like crashing down. And but most of the cloud server provider, they do have a service called the failovers or another names on it. And then it
yeah, I
supports
think
you
it's failover servers.
and they support you to running two instance and connecting two instance with a VLANs and having two systems to running at the same time. So I think that would
Yeah, actually, I get the point because if you are paying for the cloud server, so that's one of the benefits. So you will not able to experience the downtime. Thanks, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and let's move back. Let's move back to the training here. So let's go over. Let's see what function was it that we got. Okay, so let's first thing first. Let's look into the IP cameras. So the IP cameras, we call the video linkage. What you need to do is on the device, we need to add a cameras into our systems, and you need to manually adding the cameras. So choose the type of cameras, and I believe that is a dark horse cameras that we installed in the hallways of our office. And then the next thing would be filling out the RTSP address. So let me get my RTSP address. So that is the RTSP address that I have for my my dark horse cameras. And the format of the RTSP address is depends on the manufacturer's format. So some of them require you for a password, or some of them do not. And you can find out the RTSP address on the camera's user guide. Then click on submit. Then next thing we need to also dispatching the cameras into the same groups. Submit and apply it. Then let's move to the console and refresh the console. And for now, we have a camera called the dark horse camera. And then the next thing, we need to click on this little icon, the video icons on the lower right corner. And then let me click on here. So, and click on one of the here goes. So right now, so we can see the camera's image, and that is the hallways, and that's the elevator. So that's the hallways of outside of our office. Let me close down. Here we go. And then the next step that we can do is to set up a video linkage, such as, let me find a device. So let's do the intercoms. So I got the WO file, right? I can click the add and then selecting the host cameras to connect with my intercom here. And then let's look into these parameters very quick. So under device, on each of the device, first thing we need to choose, it is say the type of device. So if you're using the ZCAE device, it will be able to choose the correct device type for you. But if you are using like a third party's device, or you need to, it will be automatically default another, and you need to manually changing the device type, such as if it is a speaker, so you're going to choose the speaker device. If it is a intercom device, you need to choose the intercom device. And for those talkback speaker, the two-way communication speaker, and it will be default into the intercom device because they are for intercom purpose. So those like SQ10, or if you are using a SW15, this talkback speaker with a BM11, that is also a talkback speaker. So you need to choose as a intercom device. And other than that, we have IP phone, cameras, microphones, and others, etc. And then the next would be the active push. So this option, you are going to turn on the push option if and only if you are using the public IP. So if you are installing the systems on the clouds or using a public IPs, so we need to turn the active push options on. But since for my environment, for my systems environment, we are within the same local network in our office, so I'm not going to like turn on the active push, and then selecting the video terminal. So I'm going to connect the dark cameras. So if we have more than one camera, so I got like a high definition cameras, or I got like another cameras, I can also selecting multiple cameras within this device. So in terms of the video terminals here, there is no limitations on selecting how many cameras that you can connect with this device, but only the first 16 cameras streaming will be able to show on the console for the video linkage. Then click on submit. We got applied. So I connected the dark cameras with my intercoms, and the use case scenario would be when my intercom is activated, such as I have a call coming, it will be automatically pulling the dark cameras video streaming and showing onto the console. I believe I got my registers, then let me see. Okay, so I don't have a IP phone here, so let's register the IP phone first. Got my IP phone here, and then next step would be dispatch user. Okay, let's assign a master phone. So 101 is the IP phone that is in front of me right here. And then choosing 101 as a master phone for dispatch user Emily. Then if I, let's see, and if I call the intercom, it should pull up the video. Let's give it a try. Here we go. Can you guys see it? Oops. Let me mute. There we go. So decrease the volume on my phone. There you go. Okay. Okay, sounds better. So let me hang up the call right here. So if I hang up the call, it will be automatically closing the video streaming. So that is basically how the video linkage works. So you're going to registering the cameras into the systems, and then connect the cameras to the specific device or devices. And when my intercom or my speaker is activated, it will be automatically pulling the video streaming and pushing to the video intercom panel right here. And the use case scenario would be when even if I'm using a video intercom, the only image I can viewing through my video intercom would be only through the front cameras on my intercom, right? I cannot see the surrounding environment. By using the video linkage feature, we are able to viewing the person who is pressing the button, viewing he or she's surrounding environment within like a 100 meter or like for a specific distance, and we know like, okay, so the person run to this direction or the person run to another direction. So we will be able to see all these videos in real time, in the real time streaming. But one thing that we need to note it is for our systems, we do not save any of the cameras recording files. So we do not save the recording from the IP cameras, but we do save the recording of the audio files. So any audio files from the intercom or the dial calls, so we will be our systems will be automatically saving these files. In most of the cases, more than likely, if you are using the IP cameras, you will be also using the NVR and recording the video recording files. That is the job for the NVR, right? So for our systems, we don't additionally recording those videos. Yes, and then we're done with the video linkage, and then let's do the I/O setting. So I/O settings, let's see. I got a X10, so let's do the X10 I/O setting here. So I got a device X10, so there would be the X10 right here, right behind me. And my X10 is also connecting, it probably not like viewing very clear, but the X10 is connected with a alarm light, a passive speaker, and also with a button. So we are on the X10's page, right? Then right under events, we have the I/O settings, and then let's see. So if we would like to have the alarm lights to go on, there would be the settings for the relays. So also called the joy contact relay control. We have the relay controls on, and then you can choose the modes on the reset mode. So you can do it the delay reset, or we can have the answer reset. So the answer reset, it is after the X10 is answered, it will be the lights will be off, or you can set it up if the call is done, then the lights will be reset. Or the delay reset would be having the lights to go up for a specific time, like direction here for 5 seconds, and then it will off. And then the after we choosing the relay controls, we need to choose the trigger setting. So the trigger setting, we support 3 different methods on the X10, such as you can trigger that by the input signals, because it also has the digital the sensors, so the digital input signals here. So you can also trigger it, like activated by the input signals, such as, for example, if we are connecting a smoke detector, so that is using the digital signal, right? If we are connecting the smoke detector with the X10, and I will turn on this option, when my smoke detector is actually detected a smoke event, it activated. It will send a signal to the X10, and then the X10 can perform the following performance or the operation. So we can have the lights to turn on, or we can have the and we can have another like another events to perform. Or it can trigger it by a DTMF. So basically the keypad on the IP phone. So this scenario would be more commonly using if you are connecting the X10 with the door magnetic. So when I push the buttons on the IP phones, I'm able like pressing the 1*1, and I will be able to unlock the door through the joy contact relay. Then, or we can choose the sugar by call select. So if I call my X10 with the events, it can be like in outgoings or incomings or both, or answer the hang up. So the events to trigger the X10, my lights will also go on. So let me turn off these two first, and then let's give it a try. So for this setup, basically it means if I call my X10, the lights will be up for 5 seconds. Make sure my X10 is online and everything's good. And my X10 is 1004. So let's do 1004. Okay, so here we go. Can you guys see that through my little small cameras on the background? So my my alarm light is up and is on for 5 seconds, and then it will go off. So that is the basic setup for the I/O settings, and I will be going over the let's go over the I/O settings right now. So are we going to take the X10 for the same example here? So on the first section, we have the press to talk. So the press to talk is basically the call destination that is for the buttons on the X10. And we all know that the X10 can connect 2 buttons, right? So there would be 2 of the press to talk numbers. So after you press the buttons, it will be automatically calling to a destination number, such as my master phone, my IP phone, it is 1001. So it will be automatically calling to the 1001. And then we can choose the option to press again to end call. So if you press again for the on the buttons, it will be ending the call. And also, if you would like to use the button for activating a task, it's also work. So we can do like *11 and 1 2 3 4, right? And I can save this. This is the number that I can activate my dial number task. So for the dial number task that we just created. So if I press the button, it will activate the task. And then sensor setting. So sensor detection would be the digital signals. So the digital signals on the X10. And for sensor setting, I believe we are only supporting the sensor setting in the X10 and also in the new EI EI series intercom. And then you're going to choose the trigger modes. So on this option will be really depending on the sensor that you are having, because like on sensors mode, it will only for raising edge or the falling edge. So you can choose the trigger modes on falling edge or like raising edge. And then what it the operation after the sensor is activated, then it will be, you can choose to dial a number, such as if my smoke detector is activated, I can choose to dial a number, dial my desktop number, and notifying me that the smoke detector is activated, and I need to check what's going on there. And then also you can trigger with a audio, so you can also play a audio through the X10, but the previous condition would be connecting. You need the X10 to connect with a speaker first. Then we can choose the alarm sound here, and repeat for times. And you can only select one out of these two, to the dial numbers or the trigger audios. You can only choose one of the two. So you cannot select both of the options here. And we just explained that the trigger by setting. So we can trigger, so the trigger by setting, it is the joy contact relays output. The joy contact relay outputs on the X10. So I can, if I'm connecting with a door magnetic, or if I connect with a alarm light, I can have my alarm lights to go on when my input signal is activated. So if my smoke detector is activated, or I have someone to calling the X10 for whatever events, or it is by a DTMF signals. So the calling to the device and then putting into a specific digit characters to unlock the door. And we have the relay. So relay would be controlling the performance of the joy contacts. So that is basically how the IO setting work on mostly of our devices. They are, so most of the devices, the IO setting page are pretty much the same. Some of them has only one press to talk number, such as if you are using a the EIA05, because that device has only one button, so you will be only seeing one press to talk number here. And if you are using the SQ10, so the SQ10, you won't be seeing this section because it does not supporting the sensor. So on the IO setting, they are pretty much the same. Then we're done with the IO settings, and let's do multicast. So under the same navigation bar, we have the multicast. So multicast and the P2P option. So we have the P2P here, the SIP setting P2P. They are the two methods that we can use without a server. So if we are doing multicast, we need to turn on the multicast, and the multicast address. You need to fill out the multicast address, and both address on the other side of the device needs to be the same, exactly the same, including the multicast part. And you can create a name for like paging, for pagings, and we also support the relay control mode, so you can turn it on or flashing or slow flashing options here. So one of the most common use case would be we are setting up the same multicast address for IP phones, and then for many speakers, right? So I can, in this case, I can use the IP phones for paging only. So that would be one of the common case. So if your project only require you to for making paging and it does not require any of the additional features. So in this case, you can use the multicast even without a server. And then I believe we have the latest multicast videos on YouTube. And if you guys interested in it, you may it is available in YouTube. And then we have the P2P account. So the difference between the P2P and multicast is that the multicast, it is a one-way audio paging feature. So it can only send out it actually, so how the mechanism of the multicast works, it send out a copies of the audios and sending into multiple destinations. We're sending into multiple devices, and if the devices is also listening to the same multicast address and the port is matching, then they will open the channel to receiving the package, and that is how the multicast work. But in multicast, the signal is not going to able to send back the package to the server. But in the P2P, so P2P is peer-to-peer feature. So you can have a one device calling to another device, and they can get the two-way communication call. So they can send the package to each other back and forth. But the limitations on the P2P is you are only going to build a one-to-one call, one-to-one communication. So you cannot connect with a one-to-all or one-to-multiple communications. Then if we are using P2P, so we need to set, going to give a user ID on the P2P account, right? So I don't know, like do 901 and then we turn on the auto answers here and activate the account, click on submit. And if I'm using another device, let's say if I am, let's see, I need to get into IO setting. Let me turn off this account first. So make sure we are using the correct lines. So the account is activated. So if I am setting up the, first we need to turn on the P2P here. To activate, need to turn on the P2P account first. And then if we set up the IO settings, calling to this device address. So I need to get this address. Is it not fine? That's fine. And then the lines, we're going to choose a P2P account. Press again to encode. Submit. So if I press the buttons on the intercom, it should be able to call the X10. So let's give it a try. Oh, I need to push the button. Okay, let's see. I need to get a
I have one question actually. So for the zoning, for instance, if we create multiple zones, we will use the multicast method to access the zones, to page the zones.
Yes, you can use the multicast to. You mean like page the zones. So let's think that So what we can do here is to filling out the multicast address that is matched with your zones. So in terms of the multicast, you can like collecting all the devices and putting them into one zones and have a IP phone to monitoring the same IP, the multicast address, same as the zone, because we do not support the zones for a multicast IP address. So what you can do is to setting up all the devices that you're supposed to, like you would like them to in the same zones, and then all these devices is listening to the same multicast address as the IP phone. That case, we can use the IP phones for a paging, and you can set up different multicast address here. So for example, if one zone, you can create with like I don't know 12.1 and another you can create like 12.2. In that case, you can have like multiple IP phones for paging to different devices.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, and then let's see. Let me check out one more question here. Okay, so another question on the video language that I missed, it is for the cameras, and as long as the cameras is supporting the RTSP protocols, you can register the cameras onto our systems. So not, I won't say like all brands, but most of the IP cameras, they do support RTSP protocols. Okay, and then let's move on to the next one. Okay, and let's see. And let's go over to the IP audio center settings and see if anything that we need to make it clear here. So SIP accounts. So for besides the IP cameras or devices takes on one SIP account numbers or SIP like the license that you guys may prefer. So a speaker or an intercom or another type of device, they do require you for a SIP numbers. So it would take on one SIP number here. And then we have the device. So if you are registering a third party's devices, you need to manually adding the device from the device page. So click on add if you're adding a camera or if you are adding a speaker. So let's see, if we are adding a speaker, so you're going to choose the SIP number for this device. If you're using the ZYCOO device, it will be automatically matching the device and the SIP accounts information. So you don't need to manually adding the device into the device list. Then we have groups. So the groups, we support unlimited number of groups, so you can create as many as you need. And yes, I believe we went over the parameters here. And then have the telephony. So we have the trans here. So the trans, you can registering the SIP trans through the IP audio centers, filling out all the information that is provided by the SIP trans providers. And you can have the trans type to work as a server mode or client mode. So for example, if you are registering if you are integrating the PBX as a SIP trans into the audio, so the trans type would be booked as a client mode because the PBX work as a server mode. Then we have the name, the servers, and all these all these information here, and we need to fill out and choosing the codecs for both audio and the video codecs, and we also need to choose the DTMF mode. And what else? Let's see the outbound CIDs and from user. Okay, so filling out all the information, we will be able to register the SIP trans into the IP audio centers, and through the SIP trans, you can use it for a outbound call. And then if you need to make a outbound call, first thing after we creating the SIP trans, the next would be adding a outbound route. So you need to have at least one outbound route in order to make a outbound call. So we can do like a outbound route 1, selecting the SIP trans here. And then the pattern. So we have the specific patterns right here. Specific patterns for filling out the outbound rules, such as it is the same as the IPPBX patterns. So we have the X refers to any digits between 0 to 9, and N refers to the digits between 2 to 9, and then we have C that is 1 to 9, and then we have the dot that is matched with any numbers or anything. So most of the common pattern rules that we use is XX dot or X dot. That would be make sure we have a at least 2 digits or 3 digits numbers, making the outbound rules. So if you can use the outbound rules for eliminating a specific call. So if your extension numbers or it is starting with a 4-digit numbers, so you can still use the XX dot or the X dot, because dot means for anything must be matching anything for infinite things. And then we have the strip digit. So the strip digit is basically deleting how many digits of the number that before sending to the trans. So for example, it's like if I fill in 1 digit, it will be automatically cutting, like deleting the first digit of the number, and then we'll be sending the rest of the numbers to the trans. And then we have prefix, that would be the prefix adding to the number that you type in before sending to the trans, such as like we can put in like country code, like 86, like China country code, or we have the suffix that would be the number that is going behind the numbers. So that is the outbound rules for creating the outbound rules, and same as a inbound rule. So you can create the inbound rule for matching the DID numbers. So if you be using the SIP trans, I believe we're going to have like a whole bunch DID number. So we're going to match the DID number. If we have any matching DID number, you can decide, you can like direct it to a specific destination, such as to a specific device, or we can choose a IVR, or we can choose a group, or trigger task by a caller number. So on this, this is the one of the method that there's one person asked, can we use the IVR to activate a dial number test? It is possible through the DID, but if you are using the IVR, I don't think we like for now the system can support this feature. And then we have the IVR, same as the all of the IVR. We are going to have the name of the IVRs, and then we can select a the welcome audio files, and then you can loop it for like how many times you would like. and then entering the events such as like press 1 to a to I don't know, like technical departments, and we can press 2 to the sales departments, to another like sales department, or to a any of the destination number. The IVRs on the IP audio center comparing to the IPPX is more simple to set up. By pressing the number, you can like direct it to another IVR, like to a second layers of IVR, or to another third layers of IVR. And on the levels of IVR, I don't think we have set up the limitations on the levels of IVR. Then let's go into reports. So the reports would be basically the call logs, and the recording. So you can downloading the recording or deleting the recording from these systems. And one thing that we need to be aware of is the system is automatically saves the recording for you. It is defaultly enabled for all 3 types of recording. If you need to disable a specific device, such as I don't want my master phone, that is like my boss IP phone, I don't want like any recording on his conversation, so I need to manually disable this option here. And for settings, so these are not complicated. So we have the default paging volumes, and we have the default alarm volumes, and you can like decrease it or increase it by dragging the volume bar. And we have the paging beats. So the paging beat, you can select the paging beats audio from. You can upload your own beating audio files from the audio prompts webpage, such as I can upload a welcome in Spanish, and then going back to the system setting, and I can choose the welcome in Spanish. So if you need like any new paging beats sounds, you can upload the audio files through the audio prompts, and then okay, I am unmuted. Okay, cool. Okay, and then we have the ring duration, so would be the time that for the ringing to be happens. And one thing that we need to notice is, for if you are turning up the paging beats here, and you also turning up the paging beats on the device side, it will be have a 2 times beating. So it will be playing the beating from the server side. From the okay, here we go. From the server side first, and then it will play out the beating audio from the device, from the endpoints. And then we have the SIP setting, so defaultly in 5060. So if you need to have the TCP or the TLS enabled, so click on these 2 options and setting up the port for these 2 protocols. And then we have the SIP NAT. So if you are using the public IP address, and it is going to be behind the router, so you need to enable the SIP NAT's option here. And Modbus, so Modbus is for So Modbus, it is a module. It is a physical hardware module, and each of the Modbus it has to connect with the IP using the Cat6 or Cat5 or Cat6 cables. Then we can fill out the Modbus. So the Modbus file, the Modbus module is more commonly used in fire alarm systems, and it has like many joy contact relays on the modules, and each of the relay it connects to a specific alarm light or to a specific device. And then we can fill out the Modbus address here, and then doing the configurations through the IP audio dispatch console. Then let's do the setting. I believe that is in where is my Modbus? That is in the recording device. I open my version. Okay, so I need to enable the Modbus versions on the dispatch console. But let's skip it for now. And feature code. So feature code. There are two feature codes that you cannot modify. So one would be the *11 for activating the task. So we call the trigger paging start numbers, and then the other one would be terminating the task. The dial number task would be the *12 for terminating the task. So we call the trigger paging start. But for all other feature codes, you can modify it, such as like DND. You can choose to another, like I don't know, like 20, like *20 or *23. And we can modify another feature codes, like always forwards to another numbers. So these three rows, they are available for modifications, but the up to cannot modify. Then we have the available the recordings and the audio prompts, dispatch users, and let's see, labels. We went over the labels, securities. Okay, so securities. So securities, first we have the SIP and the SSH options. It is defaultly enabled, and it will be preventing the attempts of tries. So if someone is trying, like through SSH, if someone is trying to log in with a wrong username or password for whatever times, for 10 times, it will be automatically putting that device IP address into the blacklist for a specific time. So for like 600 seconds. And one of the common issue would be if you are trying to use a wrong password or a wrong username to log into the device. Not logging into the device, I mean registering the device into the system. It will be showing you the registration fail. And in that case, the first thing that you would like to check out is the IP blacklist. So you'll be more than likely find out the device is blocked with the server. So if I have a blocked device, I have the delete button right here, so I can remove the device address, the device into like out of the blacklist. So whitelist, opposite with the blacklist, so you can put it into the specific device IP address, such as my intercom. So, and in this case, no matter like how many times, how many attempts that I try to use the wrong username and password for registration, it will still, it won't be block my device, and it won't be putting into the IP blacklist. So if your device cannot register to the system, and you know like everything is correct. So the first thing, and the system is refusing to register the device. First thing you would like to check is the IP brackets and license. So since I already activate my system, but if your system is unactivated, you will have a form including like company names and contact person name, phone number, etc. And then filling the procedure would be filling out these forms and click on the downloads. It will be downloading a license file, and then sending these license files to your sales manager or to the person that you contact with us. Then we were able to generating the license key for you. So we'll be returning the license key, and you click on the uploads button and uploading the license. And we also have the delete button here. So for you, in case you uploading a wrong credentials, or if you are backupping the ISO image from another server and it keeps the old license in the ISO files, in that case, you can deleting the license. And see what else. And then the next page would be the so the 9090 part, it is our management systems, and it is only supporting if you are deploying with the ISO file. So if you are deploying the systems through cloud server, through Docker, you won't be able to see these management systems. And then the management system is your servers, your IP audio centers plus the 9090 part. And username is not a main, so username is root, and then the password is IP audio centers at ZCAE.com. Audio center at ZCAE.com. There we go. So I am in the management systems. So right here, we're under systems. So there are several things that we can do. So the management systems, first thing we need to check is the system time, because everything on the system is relying on the timestamps. So we need to make sure that the system time is in the correct time zones. Sometimes, like when you are after you installed the systems, the first thing you would like to check is actually the first thing you would like to do is to changing the password, and then the second thing you need to do is to checking the system time. Make sure that the system time is in the correct setting, and you can choose using the NTP or choosing like manually selecting the time zones. And then the second thing that we using the management system a lot, it is to changing the network here. Let's go back. Okay, here we go. So right here we can see the network address. So if you are I'm using the ISL 100, so the default IP address is actually 10.100, right? So in this case, I can manually change the IP address to a static IP address and assigning a new IP address for these servers, for changing the default IP address to my IP address. So in networking, we can change the network address here. So that is like another important point for using the management systems. And for accounts, so that is we use the rules for things, and then we have servers. So those are the logs for running the for showing the system's operations. Then we have broadcast. So we have several features here. So let's go over one by one. So on the backup for our systems, we have the automatic backup features enabled, and it is defaultly disabled. So if you need to turn on the automatic backup feature, you need to manually get into the management systems and enable these options. And the backup feature can save you the last 5 days. So last 5 days backup files. And for the 6 days file, it will be overwriting the first days, and the 7 days it will be overwriting the second days. So it will be saving the latest 5 days of backup files into the on our systems, and you can download or delete or restore the backup files. So, and all the backup files here, we are saving. It will be automatically saving the configuration files, and you can manually selecting whether or not it saves the recording files or it saves the music files. Because if you having like you have like hundreds of songs into in your systems, it will be taking up a lot of space, like storage space for saving the music files, or if you are having like a heavy loads of phone calls, so you will be having a lot of recording, right? So in that case, you can deselect if the recording is not like important for you, so you can deselect the recording or the music files, so not picking up, not saving up the these two type of heavy backup files. And then we have the loss. So loss is this step is quite important for our distributor or our reseller. If you have any issue or problems that you cannot figure out, our technicians will ask you to send us the log. So here is the place that you can download the logs to send it to us. But for this log is only saved the for 24 hours. So for the today's logs, like how can I explain it? So it only saves the exceeding 24 hours logs. If you are having the issue today, you need to download today's log. If you wait for tomorrow after midnight, the system will be automatically clear all the logs. So this log is only within 24 hours. Send this log to our technicians, and we are able to analyze the problem for you. And multicast. So there are two options here for the broadcast. Actually, we should call it the broadcast. So the first option would be using HTTP, and the second option is using the multicast. And I know the design is a little bit weird for now, but if the buttons, the circles is on the right, it means HTTP. If the buttons on the right, that means multicast. So in what case scenario you would use HTTP? When you are installing in a cloud server or you're using a public address, because multicast cannot go through the public address. So we need to use the HTTP to send down the request and ask the device to come back and pick up the information. So in that case, we need to use the HTTP. And if your system's environment it is under the same under the local area network, in that case, you would you choosing the multicast. And after you switching the options, you need to restart the servers. Then we have the anything else here. So then hot standby. So hot standby, it has the status saying the hot standby is disabled. So the hot standby feature setup is relatively straightforward. All you need to do is to enable and filling out this information, such as it works as a primary server or it works as a secondary server. And the security key, you are going to generating the security key on your own. I don't know, like I can create my own security key as long as both the key pair are the same, then it will be fine. But we're not suggesting you to use like those like relatively simple security key here. And the hot standby, we're choosing like the network interface, like which interface it use, and then the primary address and the visual network interface, etc. So we're going to, if you are using the hot standby, so we're going to fill out this on these servers, and then we're going to fill out the exact same things. The same procedures on another servers, one as work as a primaries and one work as a secondaries to make the hot standby work. And in terms of using the hot standby, you need to have two pairs of you need to have two sets of license, and they are individual license, so one for each server. Then we have the internet capture. So if our attendant can ask you to capture some logs for us, you can use this capture right here. Click on start and do the perform the operation, and then stop. It will be automatically download the logs file for us and send it to us, and we can analyze it. So those are the 5 features that we provide within these management systems. So if you need the backup files, or if you are using the hot standby, or you need to capture a analyze files for our tenants, you're going to store all these features within the management systems. And then we have terminals. So that is the terminals for this device, instead, and you don't need to go through with the SSH. And then let's see. And we're done with the centers. So let's take a quick look on the devices. So let's take on the intercom for examples. So all of our devices, they support 3 line SIP accounts. So you can register one account on the IP audio centers, and then you can register another account on a PBX. And then you're going to do the account registration, going through the filling out all this information, the username, server address, and then choosing the protocol, and then let's click and enable this. Then we have the secondary account, exactly the same as the primary. Besides the primaries can work, only the primaries can work with the IP audio centers. So if you are using if you are registering on more than one server, make sure that you put in the IP audio servers on the primaries, and then the others on the secondaries. Then we have the P2P codecs and the event setting. So those are the SIP parts for like global parts, or the RTP parts for sending the RTP package. Then we got the volume. So we have the default volume. So, and we have speaker volumes and we have the automatic generic. We have the audio output right here. So this audio output only applies to our EI series network intercoms because we support the external active speaker to connect with the intercoms. So you can choosing the audios to play out through which speaker, because we already have a built-in speaker in our intercom, right? If you are connecting with a external speaker, then we need to choose where the audio output, what is the audio output here. So we can choose the speaker or we can choose the outline, the line out. So line out would be the external speaker. And then we have the key bits. So as I mentioned that on the center, if you have both key bits enabled, it will be played twice. So if you are using our audio center and you are using the ZYCOO products, you need to turn on one of them. So if it is not suggest that you're having both to turn on, because like if you have both to turn on, it will be play the system's the server's beating sound like dun 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 at first, and then it will play again from the endpoints. So turn it off. Then we embed over the I/O settings, and we have the API. So the API, we can enable this API for sending a URL request to the to a operations. So and we have like all these such as we have the incoming callback URLs, and you can perform some of the such as let's see here the API settings. So yes, such as if I have a incoming event, I'm going to like have a speaker to play another audios, or I can pull up or I can connect with a IP cameras. It will be depends on the URL that you set up. Same as the outgoing or the exited URL. So you can set up a API event through the URL here. Same as the relays, and the API setting here is opposite as the setting that we have in the above. So right here, if you are enabling the call API, it will be automatically generating the API that is the URL. So it will be generating the URL for you. And then we have the parameters here. You can change the values of the parameters, such as like you can change the volume, or you can change the zip lines. If we are clicking the place, we can change the volume, or we can change the songs of these URLs, and then we can copy and paste these URLs, these API events through IP phones or through another device, such as I can do it like X10, so API, so enable, so. So there would be a quick examples here. So if for this setup, which means if I call the X10, because we are on the X10, right? Yeah, we are on the X10. So if I call the have a incoming call to the X10, it will be automatically playing, going to request the URL of this action, this event, and then this event would be playing a song, whatever songs that it is selected from the intercoms. And multicast, we have language, so selecting the language here. So the voice prompt language will be announcing the IP address. So for all of the international products, it is defaultly in English. And we have the audio files. So that is the latest feature, latest versions of new feature that we implemented on our device. So for now, we are supporting at most 5 of the audio files. So you can uploading a local files to the device itself. So you can actually choosing these audio files for the ringing sounds or for another purpose, such as you can we just mentioned that in the API, so we can choose to change the start play API values to like 15. So at the place action ID 1. So we can change the ID 1 to 15. That means going to the custom audio 1. And then it will be playing the audio that you uploaded here. But for the audio files, it can support only a maximum number of 5 megabytes. So pretty much like average 1 megabyte per song. So you can upload at most 5 audio files right here. Then we have the network. Network type would be to be DHCP, or we can choose the static IP. And the access type can selecting with HTTP or HTTPS. And the time if we're using the NTP, we're going to figuring out the NTP server here, or you can choose to synchronize the time that is sent with your server. And the accounts would be changing the password and the changing the passwords, and we have the upgrades. So this is the place that you can throw in the new firmware for upgrading. And we have the reboots and reset features. And we also implemented a reboot schedule. So if you turn it on, you can set up the device to have a automatic reboot schedule, such as it can reboot daily, like once a day at midnight. So our here is we can do it like at midnight, and it will restart the device. So it is healthier for the device to have a scheduled reboot, so it can flush down all the components of the hardware device. Then we got a last one would be the diagnosis. So would be pin we have the pin here. So pinning the IP, knowing whether or not the device is online. We have the Ethernet capture. So if your device is you cannot figure out like what is wrong with the device, our technician will also ask you to send us the data package and to us to analyze. So here is the place that you need to know to capture the package, the data package. And we have the import and export. So would be that is importing or exporting the configuration files. Then we got the auto provisioning. So the auto provisioning would be saving the configuration files to a static service or to a DHCP service. So if you are using the using a SADEX servers. So you can choose the access mode to TFTP or using like HTTP. If you have a storage on another place, you can choose a HTTP for saving the configuration files. Then we have the test. So test would be this test is very helpful. And I believe we implemented this feature like in the last 2 versions, right? And then so we can test the speaker or we can test the microphone before you are registering the device to the system. And in this case, and also the relay test. So in this in that case, we are able to analyzing the hardware components of the device more easily and knowing like knowing whether or not the speaker or the microphone is working before I need to register the device into the system, right? So for speaker test, it's easier if you need to, you can like have the device to announce the IP address. In that case, we can test the speaker test, but for microphones, we cannot do it without using these systems, using the centers, right? But with the new feature implemented, so we are able to do a microphone group test. So we can click on start test. Here we go. Start test, and then it will recording the words or the sentence that you say, and then it will play out. So in that case, we are able to know whether or not the microphone is working, and then also relays. So we can test the relays. On the so if we are testing the, can we test the, I believe I have the latest version on the X10. Test the relays. Here goes. So it sends the signals to the dry contact relays for test. Okay, so that is pretty much. I went over. Let's see what else. Did I miss anything here?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. So I went over the endpoints and the IP audio centers and the 9090 management ports and what else? What DTMF and DIT means. So the DTMF, right? I mean the DTMF. So the DTMF, that means the keypad that is on your IP phones. So that is a specified type of signals. Let's see. Let's see what, let's see. Do you guys have any questions? Because I cannot think of anything that I missed on in the moment. But if you guys can raise some questions, then I probably like can recall me on the section that I didn't mention. How many maximum or parts of use on PA? And for this technical training, we just covered all the software and the system side, and we didn't cover any of the hardware components. But the hardware components is not that complicated on our device. Besides the X10, so the X10 is a little bit more complicated because we have a right here you go. So on the X10, it looks very confused sometimes for some of our clients. So one of the most common mistakes on using the X10 would be on the speaker and on the key right here. So there you go. So for our X10, it can support 2 passive speaker, and the one speaker has to be less than 10 watts, so 10 watts at most for one speaker, because we need to supply the power, the powers to the passive speakers. And as we know that like PoE plus for AF, it can the actual arrive watts would be somewhere around like 23 or 24. And then in that case, if we need to supply the powers for the passive speaker, we have limited to 10 watts at most. And another common mistake would be trying to connect the speaker with the wrong Phoenix pins. So on the speaker side, we can see we have the left plus and left minus and right minus, right plus. So the right plus and right minus, they are one set. And the left minus and left plus, they are another set. So I got some customers feedbacks on their passive speaker is not working because they're trying to connect the plus with another plus, like a right plus with a left plus, and then the right minus with the right minus. So you cannot connect with 2 of the same sign. So you need to connect with the right plus and the right minus as one set, or the left plus and left minus as another set. Same applies to the key buttons here. So for the key buttons, we have 4 Phoenix pin for one of the buttons. So the LED indicated with the lights, and then the key indicated with the buttons. So the cables that goes with the lights, the LED lights, it will be going through these two parts, 2 Phoenix pin. And the bottoms cables is wires. The bottoms wires will be going through the keys, Phoenix pins. And then for the digital sensors, we have 2 pins, the DINs, one for the positive and one for the negative, and dry contact relay. So dry contact relay would be, there's also 2 cables, wires for the dry contact relays. So one will be going through the common, so one has to go in with the common Phoenix pin. And then the second wires will be depending on like how you would like to set up. So the NO stands for normal opens and the NC stands for normal close. It depends on you how would like to use it. Is it like has to be close, normal close, or normal opens? So and the audio interface is using the 3.5 mm jack, so you can use the audio ins to plug in with a microphone, or use with a another source. And then the output, we can connect it with a headphones, or we can connect with a analog amplifiers. So that is the common case to using with the amplifiers. And then you can also connect with the ins, the audio ins interface, to connect with a 3.5 mm jack, and then connecting with your cell phones or your laptop to play as a audio source. And let's see, if it like Okay, so and that is the new series, the EI series. So the EI series, we can connect with a numbers of peripheral devices. So we are using this cable set. So each of the cables, then we have these labels on it. So the DIN, that is the digital inputs. And then we have the audios, so the audio outputs, and we have the joy contact relays outputs. We have the powers and we have the Ethernet cables. So which means you can connect the EI series with a numbers of peripheral devices, such as you can connect with the alarm lights through the joy contact relays or the smoke detector through the DIN, the digital inputs, and then we can connect with a active speakers or a sensors, amplifiers, or the dome magnetic. So this guy, the EI series, it performs like a smaller, another versions of the X10, right? Besides, we cannot connect the EI series intercom with a additional buttons. Besides that, like all the devices that you can connect with the X10s, you can use it, apply to the EI series intercom here. Then what else? Let's see. SQ10, we can connect